This pattern is the source of all breakthroughs in strategy in all domains. Before 1968, there were 3 ways to go over high bars. They were all forward techniques. You either did a scissor, a straddle, or roll. And then in 1968, someone came on the scene. Anyone know who that was? Dick Fosbury. And he turned his back on the tradition. He goes over backwards. He wins the Olympics. It takes the competition 8 years to copy him. 8 years later, 90% of high jumpers are doing what's called what? The Fosbury flop. Now, here's what I want to point out about this. There's no new technology that suddenly makes it possible to go over the high bar in 1968. The technology, if you will, is just pads put on the other side of high bars, and we were already laying those down 15 years before. So it begs the question, why didn't someone do this 4 years before? Or 8 years before, 12 years before? So what I propose, it's not understanding the technology or your client's understanding with the technology. It is about understanding the concepts around the technology. The concepts tell us how to use the technology. And it's not till that concept is named. In this case, Fosbury flop is alliterates, it's a sticky term. Until we have the concepts, we don't think about how to use the technology. We can't call a coach and say, hey, can you teach me the Fosbury flop? You can't find a manual on how to do the Fosbury flop. The second thing I want to point out is the reason that we don't do these 4th options is because it feels safer to do what was been done before. Think about it. Before 1968, every gold medal winner had gone over forward. Every trainer of every Olympic athlete had trained them to go over forward. We didn't have ESPN back then, but if we did, every pundit would have said, you go over forward. So massive agreement. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through a set of patterns, and I'm going to invite you to write down ideas if they come up for you. I'm going to give you these 5 questions, and there will be ideas that come up that will seem impossible, that will seem crazy, and those are the only indications that potentially you have a 4th option idea. Now, when should we come up with these 4th options? I propose right now is the ideal time to come up with 4th options, because when the rules change, it creates opportunities to think differently. Sticking with sports for a little bit, let's look at the average height of the last 5 NBA most valuable players. So I looked the most valuable players leading up to 1960, what was their height, averaged it out, little over 80 inches. And then if we look for the next 2.5 decades, what do we see? They're getting taller and taller and taller. And something weird happens the next half decade. Suddenly, they're shorter. Is this a blip? Is this an anomaly? It's not a blip. It's not even a new normal. It is a new trend. The best players are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Why is that? What changed around 1980? The three-point shot, 1979, is introduced. Some teams adapt to the new game, others do not. Some players adapt to the new game, others do not. And your clients are not facing one three-point shot, they're facing multiple three-point shots. We organize this peer group of chief strategy officers, the Outthinker Strategy Network. Some of them are heads of strategy of your clients. And we get together. This isn't just financial services, it's across a whole bunch of industries. And we said, what are the trends that are shaping strategy that we care about? And these are what we're seeing, at least like in financial services, these are kind of the big ones that you're probably aware of. You know, blockchain enabling smart contracts, open ledger, we've got digital transformation and the user experience, automation and robo, fintechs entering, we've got open banking, payment innovations like buy now, pay later, regulatory uncertainty, a lack of loyalty, especially among big financial brands. We've got AI and robo, we've got big data and analytics, cybersecurity and fraud, we've got changing member or customer expectations, member if it's a credit union. And what COVID has done has simply accelerated these trends as opposed to introduce new ones. So now is a great time to look for fourth options. It puts us in this moment when thinking with our customers, we can decide how we are going to play the game. Are we going to play the game the way we've always played it? Or are we going to learn the new game? We're going to keep going over the high bar forward, or are we going to learn to go over backwards?